Okay, guys, I'm going to take you through the process now of um, going through the scan data for the Caesar data. So first thing we're going to do, you've opened SizeStream, it's there in front of you, load a refined body mesh. So we're going to load this one. First, I'm just going to copy the file name. So I'm going to make sure that's selected, copy it, and then I'm just going to open it now so it opens in front of us. It's a female scan. I want to show the landmark coordinates. And I'm going to get measurements. Whilst that's processing, I'm going to go here. I'm going to drop in the name of it. I'm going to say it's female. I know it's fine for these, so I'm just going to drag those down and I can go back to the file now. So first thing I'm going to do is zoom in. So just using the scroll wheel to do that. Then I'm going to pick the scan up and start at the bottom, have a look at it, make sure that all the landmarks are in the appropriate places, and they all seem to be up to the waist. I can see the wrists. For some reason, there's a little bit of clipping happening here, but I can't adjust any of the wrist landmarks. There's nothing I can do about that for now. It only happens in a few scans, but it's a problem with this one. Elbow points are low as well. You can see that by the antecubital fossa here and by the indentations at the back, but I'm not sure why that's happening. If I move up, center front neck is out. I can see that. So I can go here, move landmark tool, click on this, neck front, and I can just put this roughly where I think it should be there. If I move to the side, next adjustment I'm going to have to make is for the neck left and neck right. So if I click here, you can see I'm moving this to the approximate location I think it's going to be for the side neck point landmark. And if I move this around, I need to pick neck left, neck right, sorry. And I can move this in line with that as well. I could just move the scan around with the left click to make sure it's all right. If I move to the back and align these up, I can see that the back is slightly offline as well. So I'm just going to go here, pick up neck back, move that position. Looking at the other landmarks, I think I can live with where most of these are, although this shoulder, these seem to be a bit far off, but we'll leave them for now because they're not hugely different. I could make a slight adjustment in. But for now, I'm not going to. I'm just going to store and process this one. And then I'll just give it one quick check over so you can see it's moved those landmarks appropriately. They all look to be all right. Obviously, this breaks the link here between this length, so it appears to be out, which is a little bit annoying. But otherwise, everything else seems fine. You can see the crotch curve looks about right. Now, I might be tempted just to drop that curve just a little bit here. But I'm not going to move the crotch points. It starts to play havoc with some of the thigh measurements. But I think that should all be fine now. So I'm going to save the refined body mesh. It was this one. And I'm going to rename it. So what I'm doing here is -F hyphen, and then the changes that I made. So I moved the net all. Okay. And then I can save that. Now, I would normally copy that out, but I'll move on to the next one because it's just a change that I've made to the others. So I'm going to pick up 223 here. I'll copy the name out. I'm going to open the scan. It's a male scan. I'm going to say get measurements. Whilst it's processing, I'm going to go back to this sheet here, copy in the new name. It's a male scan. I moved all the neck points, so I'll just copy that out of there. And I'll draw these down just to capture everything that's been done. If I go back to the scan, I can zoom into it now. I can have a look at it. You can see most of those around the leg seem to be fine. Line up for the front, wrists are okay. Elbows, again, they're low, but they're placed. It seems to be a glitch within the studio software. So if I find the waist front here, I can move this front waist point back onto line. I think that's fine. I'm looking at the top. Again, the shoulders are just over a little bit further than I'd like them to be. But I'm going to leave them. What I am going to move now is the neck front, because that is definitely offline. Move it to the side. Now I've got to make some kind of judgment call. Side neck points around about here. We're thinking the trapezius going up into the column of the neck. So I'm going to take the neck left. I'm going to place that here. I'm going to spin it to the back. Again, we can see that the back is offline according to where the points are coming up the center of the body. But also, if you look at the column here, It's got to be somewhere around there more effectively. So if I find the neck back, drop that in, spin it to the side again. So I'm just looking approximately where the armholes are as well. And neck right, and I can just drop that point in. So I've made those necessary changes. I can look at it, I can see it's all right, store it and process it. That should now lift me off the measurements in the right place. Now, if I was going to be really picky, I would just move these shoulder points back over. So pick the shoulder left, and I would just drop that back up there, and the shoulder right, and I would just drop that there. That's down a bit too much. Smooth that back. So I think we can go with that and be a little bit more confident that it's closer to where I perceive the acromion processes to be from looking at the surface of the body. But otherwise, I think that's fine. Now, looking at this, I might want to move this neck point in a little bit. You can see it looks a bit far out on the neck. So I'm just going to go and lift it. Neck left. And just move that up a touch there. And the neck right, I'm going to do the same. Just going to move it a little bit closer towards the column itself. Store and process. Okay, and that looks fine. So I'm going to save this refined body mesh. Pick it up. It was 223. So it was male. I moved the center front waist. I moved the left and right shoulder. And I moved all the neck points. So for this one, I'm just going to copy out these changes. I'm going to save that. I go to the Excel file, drop in the changes I made, go back to this, mode refine body mesh 224. I copy that one. I'll open that one up. That's a female scan. I'm going to say get the measurements, and now I can go back to this. I can drop in this name. That's female. Can draw those two down. I'm definitely going to move landmarks I have on every one of them. Draw those down. And that should be fine. So now if I go back to it, and we zoom in again, start at the bottom. So I've got the ankle, smallest leg, calf appearing on the leg, the underknee, the knee, mid-thigh, the thigh, crotch point looks fine, curve looks okay, wrists look fine, elbows again, as consistently seems to happen currently in studio, are lower than I would want them to be. And you can tell because of the shape of the arm, you can see this indent in the back. You can also roughly see the antecubital fossa here, this indentation at the front. You can also see the shaping of the muscles around the arm. And these suggest that currently this algorithm is just struggling a little bit to place the landmarks correctly in this current version. Okay, shoulder points. This one looks a bit lower. This one I can probably live with. Mostly about the position of the arm. If I straighten this up and look at it, that front neck point is wrong. So first thing I'm going to do is move those landmarks around that. So neck front, just going to drop it down. Keep it central, look at where it is around the column. That looks to be okay, although you can see there's a bit more of an indent in there. If I move around this side with left click, I'm going to want to place the left side neck point. So if neck left, pick it up, place it here. I want to move it in just a touch. You can see the tension through the tendons running up into here, widening the neck on this particular individual. Take this neck right, and I can just place that in, have a look at it. I think we're probably going to go there. I go to the back, line up against these. I can see that that back neck mark is just off slightly, so I'm going to pick up neck back. I'm going to drop that in there. The armpit points are fine from it. I'm going to leave this shoulder point, but this one on the right looks a bit far over, so I'm just going to go here and pick shoulder right. I'm just going to move that up on this point here. Okay, I'm a little bit happier with where that is. I'm just going to store and process and see what happens now as it runs this data through. Okay, I'm a bit happier with where everything is around the neck, the shoulder points as well. All the other landmarks seem to be kind of okay from where I expect them to be. For those I can change. So I'm going to save this refined body mesh. It's 224 there. I'm going to pick it up here. So hyphen F hyphen. I didn't move anything around the waist. I moved the right shoulder and I moved all the neck. Okay, so I'm just going to copy out those changes that I made. Save this, go back to this sheet, drop in those changes there, go back to here, load refine body mesh, pick up 225. Now open that. Right, that's another female scan. I'm going to get the measurements. Whilst I do that, all right, I forgot to copy the thing out, or maybe I didn't, but anyway, I'm going to go here to the file, pick up the name of it, go back to here, copy that in, drag down female and those, so they're all done. Go back to the scan, it's processed now, so I'm just going to scroll twice in the scroll wheel. I'm in the right zoom, so I'm looking at it again. Ankle, minimum leg, calf on the leg, under knee, above the knee, so this must be actual knee, mid thigh, actual mid thigh, and the thigh measurement. Looking at the crotch curve, all looks to be fine. Looks to be fine around the measurements here. If I just line these up, I can also see the wrist's fine, elbow's fine again, but low. This center front waist seems to be off a little bit from what I think will be the middle of the body. So I'm just going to go back, waist front. I'm going to move that point in there. So the center front waist. Neck looks fine. Shoulders look all right, but there's a bit of noise on this right shoulder, which might be throwing some of the stuff out. But if I rotate it round, there's a side neck point here. So I'm going to go back to here. Neck left. Just going to drop that in position here. I think that one should be fine there. I'm going to rotate it round to the right-hand side. Try and line these up over each other. Pick up neck right and drop that one in there. Turn it to the back. I reckon that back neck landmark is okay. Sometimes perceptually a little bit lower than you might expect it to be, but I think that's fine around these shapes here. So I'm going to store and process this. I'm not going to make any changes to the shoulder points for now. I'm going to save this refined body mesh. So it was 225 we worked on there. Pick this back up. Hyphen F hyphen. Remove the center front waist. Left and right side neck points. And that's it. And I've just forgotten to put a hyphen in there. So I can pick up those changes. Copy them. Save this. Back to the Excel sheet. Drop in the changes. Drag down these, go back here, load refine body mesh, we're on to the next one, 226, copy the name out, I'll open it. For the female scan, I'll get the measurements, I'll go back here, drop in the name, just drag these down so I keep a consistent record, go back to the scan, scroll in twice, start it from the floor, looking good with those measurements. Not where they'd expect them to be. Crotch curve's okay, maybe a little bit low, but it'll be okay for this individual. But I'd be inclined, if I can move with everything else, to go up just a couple of millimeters. But right, let's have a look. If I do make that change to the crotch curve, I don't think it'll be necessary. If I look at this, the wrists are fine. All the landmarks around the waist and everything look to be okay. Going up to the neck, neck looks a little bit high. Just spin it to the side. So I'm going to drop this neck point just a touch. You can see side on where the neck column is and where it starts to deviate from the body. So I'm just going to drop it down, and it often tends to be a little bit more in line with those. So I'm just going to go front neck, drop that down here, move it side on. Side neck points need moving on both of them. So I'm going to go neck left. I pick this point up, looking at the curve around there. That looks about right. Move this around. I'm on neck right. Move it to the back. If I line these up again, I think that neck is just off a little bit relative to the column. So I'm just going to pick up neck back and I'm just going to drop that here. I think that's a little bit better in terms of the neck. I'm going to store and process that. Everything else looks all right. I could move some stuff around the shoulders, but in this instance, I'm not going to. It's a very marginal change if I was to make it at all. Everything else looks to be all right. The underarm points, the bust points, and everything else. So I'm going to save this refined body mesh. 226. So again, female. I moved the centre front waist, and I moved up all the neck. So I'm just going to pick up those changes that were made here, copy that, save it, back to the Excel sheet, drop in the changes I made, get rid of that period from there, go back to here, refine body mesh, pick up 227, copy the name, open the file, mail scan, get the measurements, go back to here, drop in the name, what's with a bold there. So mail scan, yes and yes. Okay, I'll just drag these down because it's inevitably going to need a measurement change. You go back to this screen, zoom in. So they'll look fine. Crotch curve looks okay. Moving back to this to line them up. Center front waist looks to be off from where I might expect it to be in terms of the midline of the body. So I'm just going to go back to here, pick up the waist front, drop it approximately over the waist back. Elbows are low again. Shoulders are definitely out on this. Center front neck is there. So I'm going to move it around here. Look at it this side on. Going to go shoulder right and just move this out a little bit because I think probably around about there for the shoulder. Let's just go back in a touch. So maybe there. And the left shoulder, again, this is very difficult to know just how much the muscle has thrown the body out from sitting directly on the acromion ends there. Right, looking at the neck here. So that front neck, again, it looks a little bit high, but actually I think that's kind of going to be okay. Let's move it side on here. So definitely need to move the neck left. So I'm going to turn this around, drop that point in about there, spin it to the back here, line it up, neck back, move to here, spin it to the right. And again, I'm looking at this and neck right, just drop it approximately where it's the other side. I'll move it back up to where it sits on the column there. Store and process. Okay, that looks a lot better. Center front neck might be a bit high, but I'm not going to make any changes to that for now, because I think it'll be, again, very marginal. And it's better than it was. So I'm going to save this refined body mesh. It's 227 here. Oh, I don't want to overwrite it. I want to save it. Okay. It's a male scan, and I move the center front waist, left and right shoulder, or like that. I've changed the view, haven't I? I move the center front waist, I moved the left and right shoulder, and moved all the neck. So I'm just going to pick up those that I've copied. Copy that, and I'm going to save it. Okay. Go back to details. Let's see if it lets me save it into this. Okay, so I'm going to save it into here. There we go. I've just lost my location and go back here, drop in the changes that I've made. Go back to this, load refined body mesh. So we're on 228 now. Pick up the name, open the file. I'll scan, get the measurements, go back to here, drop in this, Pick these up, back to the scan, zoom in, start at the bottom here. Everything looks fine with those in terms of what I can change. Wrist is okay. Elbows are okay. Again, below. Center front waist is out. So if I line these points up, which roughly go down the midline of the body, I want to move the center front waist back into line with where I think it should be. Let's just drop that in there. Move up. Neck front's way out from where I think it should be. So back to the top here. Neck front, I think should be somewhere around about there. Turn it side on. Neck left. So thinking about where the side neck point's going to be, the trapezius, sternocleidomastoids passing into the column, I reckon that's about right. Move it to the back for now. I'm going to need to move that back neck over a little bit. So I'm just going to move that to here, turn it to the side again. And then looking at this side, I can see where I want to place the right neck point. So neck right. I'll place it around about there. Now that looks okay. Probably just lift it up a little bit on the column. Store and process. It's a little bit more asymmetry to this neck. Okay, and you can kind of see it, this uniqueness of how the body's held. And this is a Caesar scan, so it's likely just how this person's body actually is. Maybe I'd want to move that, but for now I'm going to leave it. It looks kind of okay for what I need. Let's save the refined body mesh. 228 we did here. Pick it back up. So it's a male scan. I move the center front waist and all the neck. Right, that's a common change I've made. So I'm going to save that file. I'm going to go back here, load the refined body mesh. I'll pick up 229 for now. Copy that, open it. It's a male scan again, get the measurements. Go back to here, drop this in. That's a male scan here. This is the change I made. So just copy that into there. I'm going to move the landmarks on these. So just pull that down to there. Back to this file. Zoom in. Everything's there as what I expect it to be. Looks okay. Wrist look fine. Crotch curve looks fine. Center front waist is off just a marginal amount. So I'm going to take this. Waist front, I'm just going to drop that back down on what's determined as the center line of the body. Up to the neck, armpits look fine, chest measurements look okay, shoulders I can live with, spin it to the side. Okay, that's what I'm looking at here, the side neck point there. So this neck left, just going to drop it on here. Let's have a look at where it sits. That's fine, I think. Spin it to this side. I reckon the right's going to be a similar point on this side. So I can drop it in, use left click just to move around and check I think I'm all right. But once I line it up off those midline, the neck is out, I reckon there. So neck back, and let's say that's going to be around there. Store and process. Okay, spin it to the front and kind of, let's maybe... That front neck now just seems to be off just a touch. Let's just pull it back into the center and see what happens. Okay, I'm kind of good with that now. So I'm going to save that refined body mesh. So it's 229 here. So hyphen M hyphen. We moved the center front waist and we moved all the neck landmarks. Again, a common change I've made. So I'm just going to save that. I'm going to go back to here. Load refined body mesh and pick up 231. I'm going to open that. That's a female scan. I'm going to go back to this. So I'd made the same changes to the last one. I've also messed up because I forgot to copy the name. So I'm going to go here, copy the name out, drop the name in there, back to here, and I'm just using Control-C, Control-V to copy these things through. Get the measurements. So this is definitely a female scan here. And I can zoom in with the scroll wheel twice, start to look at the scan data. These all look to be placed where I expect them to be. Crotch line looks fine. Wrists look okay. Yeah, centre front waist is going to be out. You can kind of see how it deviates here. But I can pull it up to there, pull up the change landmarks thing, waist front, drop that back into line. Centre front neck's out, the shoulders are out, everything is a little skew here. So I'm going to get neck front. I'm going to drop that in there, just move it to the side. That's a bit better, I think. Okay, move this up. Neck left. That's what I'm really looking for here. If I move that in, it should be all right. Spin it to this side and neck right. Drop it in here. So I'm assuming the trapezius muscle goes up and into the neck here. Sternocleidomastoids come down and they create this crossover angle here. Nothing to do with the clavicles, but there's a lot of unique shape to the neck. As you move it, you can see I'm probably just going to drop this left point down just a bit. Just to there, maybe just, okay. I spin it again, line it up off these center lines. You can see the back neck is out from where I think it should be. It tends to be the column is much better at keeping the point central on the body. So I spin that, that's kind of better. Store and process here. Right, I'm a lot happier with where the neck is, but that shoulder point on the right seems to be over a bit too far. So I'm just going to go back to here, pick up this point, shoulder right, and drop that back into a more appropriate location. Going to go with that again. I'm just probably going to move it just a touch over. All right, and I can use the lines to help guide me to where it's going to be placed. If I move that back, that looks a little bit better in terms of balancing, but again, you can see this person's shoulders a bit higher, so I'm going to save this refined body mesh. It's 2-2, oh, it wasn't, it was 2-3-1. I'll go here, hyphen, F hyphen. I move the center front waist. I move the left. I just moved the right shoulder and all the neck. So again, I can just copy these. Control C for that. Save what I've done here. Go back to this file. Oh, pick up the Excel sheet here. Drop in the change I made. It was a female scan. Yes, I've made those changes. Yes, I've done this. So I've done all that. That's all nice and tidy now. I can save that and go back to here. I don't really need to do anything more with this because I'm going to go here and move these now. So the last stage of this, I'm going to pick up all the original scans here. And we're done with them. So I'm just going to move them to original scan unchanged. These are all the final scans. I'm going to go back and pick these up and I'm going to move them to the folder final process scans. Once they're in there, I'm going to drop into here. I'm going to pick up all the females. I'm just going to take the female data and drop it in here. Then I'm left with the males. Take the male scans. I'm going to drop them in there. Now everything's neat and tidy. That's all I need to do. So if you run through the same sequence, you should hopefully get similar-ish results to me. So I'm going to stop recording.